Thanks for joining us for another episode of Beyond the Listing. I'm your host, Jeremy Medor, and today I am sitting with...
Sherri Tammelin Rogers with Coldwell Banker.
And?
Lana Kopsala with Coldwell Banker.
Well, it's a pleasure to have both of you on, and I can't wait to have our conversation here. So I guess what I'd like to do is kind of maybe go over a brief career arc for you guys. Blah? No?
That's okay.
Okay. No. Hey, you know what?
It's good. Whatever you want to do.
No.
No one wants
it's your show.
Yeah, it's your show.
No, so we're talking about the business of real estate beyond the actual listing itself. Like basically how we got to where we are, why we're loving it. And I know that we've done like videos for both of you guys and you guys have your own podcasts and stuff. But the truth of the matter is like you guys have been in it long enough to say that you've seen, I'd say you've seen it all.
I still think it's a learning thing.
Okay.
I was going to say, just
Good.
when you think you've seen it all,
right,
then something else
That's
comes
why
along
I paused
and you're like,
before I said
"Whoa."
that. So I don't want to jinx anything for you guys.
No.
Yeah.
Because it's not that all-knowing, all holy, all blah. You guys seen it all. Because there isn't that. That's
Yeah.
why we wouldn't be in this.
Yeah.
If we wouldn't be there this long, I don't think, because you have to have a backbone for this business. I am so reserved. This one isn't.
But she's drawn to me like a magnet.
Yeah, so
Or
all
moth
right.
to a flame.
So let's flip the script and not ask the question that I previously asked.
Great.
What's up with this dynamic? Let's roll up our sleeves here.
Yeah, this is a good question.
Do you want to answer it?
So I want to say where I came from on this, okay? So this is where I came from.
Duke it out, guys. Come on,
Yeah.
let's go.
She came into the office. I never knew who Sherri Tammelin was. It was Tammelin.
Yeah.
That's who
Yeah.
came in the office.
Yep.
So I never knew who she was. And she came in. And
How long ago? Let's give some history here.
12 years now?
Could be.
I
Right.
think when my old brokerage had closed and then we
Right.
came over to Coldwell Banker.
So it was
that was
2012-ish?
that was, yeah, I
Okay.
think so. I think it's about 12 years.
Okay.
Okay.
I've been doing this 14. So,
Okay, all right.
So they
So there you
came
go.
in, and I was like scanning the room of all the agents that were coming in, and I look at her and I'm like, she's approachable. Wow, she's got energy. Usually people come walking in, and I'm like, she's approachable. I wonder if I'm really a shy person in the sense of, I know you don't think that. Listen, stop it. This is my turn to talk.
I know, but I was
I'm
going
shy
from this facial
because I get nervous about like I just want to connect. So sometimes I just go, I have awkward starting. Like I'll be like, so how long you been? I could just say, hi, I'm Lana, but no, I go, so how long you been doing it? And people take it as like, nasty, but it's not. I'm like 7 questions ahead of myself.
Okay, fair.
And so I'm looking at her and I'm like, wow, she's got energy. God, I have to go introduce myself. Like, this could be a great thing. Literally, I think that was several weeks afterwards, we were combining stuff, or even just a few months, and we wanted to create this team. Like, we were on the same page. Like, we wanted to create this team.
Well, we'd gone out for coffee. And
I forgot the coffee pot. We drank coffee?
We did. We'd gone out for coffee. We just kind of shared. Well, first, to be clear, we are competitors.
Big
and
time.
we work in the
You're competitors
strangest-
and competitive.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. She's very competitive.
Yes.
Like you.
No.
I know. Like try to play cornhole with her. I
okay.
mean, or any game.
But we're both competitive,
Yes.
but we're competitors.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But we work in this unique industry that we are all in competition
Yeah.
with each other, but we have to collaborate
Yeah.
in order to bring a buyer and seller together on a transaction.
So you're not rivals. You're
So-
competitors, but you're not rivals.
Yeah, I mean, are there any rivals? I think that personalities sometimes mesh and sometimes don't.
I think that's more to the point right there, right?
Right.
So you're cooperative while being competitive, because the truth of the matter is, at the end or even at the beginning of every transaction, you have to work with somebody else.
Right.
And if you're not going into those transactions with that mind of inclusion, but instead of I'll do my thing, you do yours, and then we'll compete with each other along the way, that's going to create a rough transaction. But you guys don't approach it like that. You approach it from we're in this together let's make
We are.
awesomeness happen.
But, when you work with a brokerage, we're independent contractors.
Right.
So we're not employees of
Sure.
the brokerage. So we're over at Caldwell Banker, and everyone that's working there as licensed sales agents are independent contractors.
Yeah.
We run our own individual businesses,
Yep.
and that's a little lonely. And to be able to reach out to someone that maybe you're feeling the same energy
Sure.
from, and I think that was, like so we went for coffee. We started sharing stuff, and she had been in it longer than I did. She obviously knew the office better. I was new to the office, and I was so grateful for Lana sort of taking the lead. I see her, by the way, now. Like if she's in a room of 20 people, everyone's going to remember her name before they leave that room, because she is going to introduce herself to each and every single person. And that's you. That's you.
Don't even pretend, okay?
No.
I don't even know if she's
Look
coming
at
up with this.
Are you kidding me even?
So I have to say, I think with us, it's really hard in this industry to have trust. This is a huge trust factor, right?
It is.
To trust each
Yeah.
other, to share ideas
Sure.
and stuff, but we're not taking away from each other.
Yep.
And
Right.
like the other day, you were filling out something. I threw you a marketing piece
You
that I
did,
do,
and then I
I'm like-
stole it.
And then I said, "Hey, can I have yours?" So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's really hard to have that because of the competitive nature
Yeah.
that we're in. I think that we found each other that I know often I hear other people say about this with Sherri. Sherri has always on the light side, always. It's like she just switches to the positive. It's always on the bright. It's never like focusing on the bad.
So the
you know?
silver lining of sorts.
It's amazing because I remember talking with other coworkers, and she'll say, Sherri, you're just always upbeat. She's always upbeat and finding new, and she can come up with the greatest ideas. She's extremely
full.
smart.
This is nice.
Extremely smart in verbiage, writing, articulate.
Sure.
And with me, I'm like, and, but, it, right? That's it. And I'll say, can you look at this? So, and we started out working on some really cool concept of a team. We had no idea about it, but we really wanted to create local home resource.
Right.
And we started with a couple of agents in the office, and they were doing some work with us. And now here we are, two power women, right? Coming, and we were like,
Two chiefs.
and we knew what we liked, and we loved the other people that were in our group.
Sure.
We just couldn't figure it out. We
Okay.
just couldn't figure it out.
We didn't know what we were doing.
No.
So we failed.
Right.
We definitely failed at a team.
Yep.
And I also feel like we put unrealistic expectations on
there's
those
a hard
that
one.
were in our team.
Sure.
Because we work at a level that works for us.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that doesn't mean that that's going to work for
No,
everyone.
definitely
Right.
not.
And so
There's
that,
no one size fits all.
no,
on that.
and
Yeah.
it was a learning experience, but we were still drawn to each other and wanting to be able to, just feed off of each other's energy, get ideas. She called me this morning to ask me a question about one of her listings. Now, very general. I did it again. General. Very
general.
generic, because we do
General,
still
generic,
have
yeah.
we still have a duty to our clients.
Sure.
So we're not divulging
Yeah.
stuff that we should not to each other. But she just wanted some marketing advice.
Yeah.
And really what she wanted was just someone to bounce it off of
Sure.
while she heard herself, because she came up with her own solution before the phone call was over. I did nothing.
Yep.
Oh, this is her response. Okay, well, I didn't help, but okay, bye.
No, you helped a ton. You helped a ton.
And I went,
because you weren't a dead end. What you were not just a sounding board, but you absorbed it. And her knowledge that you absorbed it was enough confidence that she was saying the right things, because you didn't come back with no, that's a boneheaded move.
Well, then I went and looked up her listing to see if I had a client for you. But I don't.
Well-
I'm sorry.
But and the other thing too is, when we go back and forth like that, we learn. So remember, real estate is an endless learning opportunity
And earning opportunity.
We can earn and
Both,
learn.
yes, exactly.
Freudian slip.
But we constantly, think about it. it's hard to think. I couldn't get a hold of her the other day for a quick, brainstorm thought.
devastated.
Yeah,
And
you were.
she wasn't
you were
at my
afloat-
becking call.
You were afloat in the middle of the ocean.
It was
She
dinner
left me.
time.
She left me hanging. So
Right?
I had to look.
A, who does that? And B, I mean, what's up with rules? Just kidding. Just messing.
So I was looking for someone else to brainstorm this.
Yeah.
I needed this, I get this immediate thought, oh
Sure.
my goodness, I could not find anybody, right?
Oh.
Then I finally went through the scroll of the office, and then I was able to get a couple of people, which was great.
B.
But
She was on B when she got.
so think about that. That's pretty powerful when you can have two people that can brainstorm. I mean, there's times where I am like, we're on the, we call it, take us off the edge.
yeah.
Can you take me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the ledge.
Yeah.
Walk
The-
me off.
Talk me off
walk
the-
me out.
Yeah.
And we're like freaking out
Yeah.
because it could be so much something going on, or
Sure.
there's a question or anything like that. And it could be a quick little thing. Say, okay, I only have like 10 seconds, and the other person's fine, and you get it all done. And then there could be like weeks that we don't talk, right? And then we come back and we're like catching up. And we just jump right back in. We'll do a podcast together. We'll jump back in. But I think it's because we have that same level of professionalism. We have ethics. We have
We have a friendship too, and I think that's definitely the groundwork for us.
So the respect for each other,
Yes.
and our business for each other. So the personal and the business, it does go hand in hand, but we do know how to work on both.
It's a tricky line
Yeah.
to walk, right? Because you have the fiduciary responsibility that
Yes.
you guys had indicated before, but you also have this innate desire to information exchange, right? And so that's got to be a really tight line that you hold. But that friendship that you have, that desire to be around each other and
Have fun.
observing the value that exists both as a human and a professional is a really intrinsic part of that relationship. And like you just said, have fun.
And we're cheerleaders for each other. Like,
Yep.
I'm excited when she gets an award for the month.
Yep.
whatever.
I'm excited when she achieves something. Like, for instance, when we'll brainstorm, we'll start talking about something in her new construction. She does new construction,
Yeah.
and she's incredible at it.
Yeah.
I'm like the biggest cheerleader for her, because I'll say that when people call me, I say, well, no, you should go see Sherri's listings. She will help you step by step. And I think that's really, really powerful and important. People know that in the industry that we kind of support, but the clear message too is we are our own independent.
Yeah.
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 We are independent, but
And we do run our businesses, our individual
Yeah.
businesses, a little bit different
Yeah.
from each
Sure.
other. You do, over time, you figure out what works for you, and you get your systems in place, and you just kind of go from there. She's much better at delegating, and I'm a control person.
Yep.
So we do have that part that's different.
I'll agree with
And,
that.
Yeah, I mean, she's great at, she'll call somebody in the office, can you do this for me? And I'm like, how did you get them to do that stuff? I just asked. That's it. I asked. Is that all it takes? Because I'm thinking, how am I going to fit this in so I can squeeze in one more task
Yep.
into a busy schedule? And, what we begin to suffer in this job is the burnout, because
Yes.
it is a 7 days a week job, and you're trying to set aside time for yourself.
Yeah.
And, she's a little smarter at this than I am. So, because you do block some time, but your business never suffers because of it.
Okay, well, I don't know. I disagree, but I know what you're saying.
Well,
you
from
see
here,
it, right?
it
you
looks
see it
that way, and
right?
I'm
Yeah.
impressed.
Right.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
So
No, I understand what you're saying, and
Yeah.
I understand how you're feeling with that comment, because similar things happen with other photography companies and us, and they see our successes and they're like, "Wow, you guys are really crushing it." And I'm like, I literally came into the office on Monday. There was an Amazon package waiting that I wanted to assemble for 3 of our team members, and literally, it's a little dumpster that has a flip open top and it has fire inside of it. Okay, dumpster fires. And so dumpster fires are like something that we're constantly having to take care of around here, where something happens that we have to respond to, and we have to, like, you know, move our gears, pull our levers, and do all the magic happens in the back end that people don't see in the front end. They don't hear about it, right? And so there's all of that integral, that internal working that it's not obvious to everybody else, right? And so what we see, perceived to be, you know, what our competitors are doing, it looks great on the surface, but when we're in their shoes, very different approach.
Right.
And so to say something like, you know, that she sets her schedule such where she time blocks, or she, you know, has personal time that she has a, you know, it's non-negotiable.
Right.
Her business does probably, or it could rather, suffer. However, it's about the structure that she approaches it with, I'm guessing, where setting the expectation with the client as to when you're available, when you're not available, all of those dynamics play into the success of the outcome. And,
Well,
you know what I mean?
Lana works harder than any agent I've ever seen.
Undoubtedly.
You know, and I don't want what I said to sound like
Oh, no.
differently than that, because
That's not how it sounded to me.
Okay,
Just
good.
so we're clear.
Just to be very clear.
Yeah.
And I have loads of respect for that. I was actually talking to Vinny last night.
Oh.
That's her significant other.
Yeah.
And and he's retired.
Yeah.
And
So he has time on his hands for AC installation.
he's also the busiest
Right?
retired
Vinny,
person
come on.
I know. But I'm glad you're finally cooling off. But I was talking to him, and I said, do you think Lana will ever slow down? Because I just don't see it happening. And I just can't imagine how you go from this to that.
I don't think she will.
I just don't think it's in you to withdraw just a little bit.
Okay, so I mean, I disagree. And I think it's different parts of real estate that you withdraw from, right? So you choose, you could choose specific clients, specific types.
This is the podcast where we talk about the business of real estate outside the listing environment. That's gold. So continue. That's gold.
I mean, there's so much in real estate, right? When I got into real estate, I said to my manager, like, it's probably my first year, I said, how come everybody looks at real estate like this? Like, real estate is this.
It is. It can be.
But I didn't know what this was yet.
Yep.
I said, I feel it, but where is it going?
Yep.
So real estate is not just buying and selling and doing that. You know, there's commercial, there's rentals, there's...
You barely got that word off your mouth.
It hurt. It hurt.
All right.
There's oh my goodness, you could build off businesses off of businesses off of businesses.
Yes, you can.
And it is,
Sky's the limit.
I feel that.
Yep.
So to scale back, I think scaling back at certain things.
Yeah.
So there's some things that I say, I don't feel good about it. So I refer, or I get a coworker right away.
Well, that's true.
And we do it together.
Yep.
It takes a lot of burden off of me. So I'm going to share one of them. I love the commercial business part. I am not super smart in it.
Okay.
And so we have Doug Tammelin in our office.
I was going to say, she works with my ex-husband.
Yeah.
Yes.
She doesn't include me.
And
Now-
is he a commercial guy?
Unbelievable.
Isn't
He's
that
a
interesting?
numbers guy.
He's
I know.
huge
I know.
Definitely a
numbers.
numbers guy.
Yeah.
And we just have really good chemistry to bring presentation, but we're also there. We understand it. I never question like, hey, did you go show it this week? We just have a really good setup
Sure.
that organically happened.
Yep.
So for me, I get a lot of great leads. And I got him to help me support the numbers. And then it's so educational for me, which keeps me, I'm like, I'm on fire. I'm like, teach me more, dog. And I love that. And I can't stop. And so there's parts of me, it's like, it's so exciting. And then, you get to hear other things.
That
like
was the part I
development
was
and-
talking about, though. It's not necessarily taking on 100 transactions.
No.
It's the level of energy
Yes.
that's where I don't see you pulling back.
Yeah. So what I observe with you, Lana, is that you derive significant fulfillment from the high of the chase.
Yes.
Fair.
Okay. And that's really, I can speak from experience. That is a very difficult one to find a replacement for. Moving to Maine has actually turned out to be one of the hardest things that I've done.
Really?
Because, yes, because I found that my own high, my own fulfillment is derived from the chase of bonding with the clients, having significant conversations just like this right here in the listing environment, going from one job site to the next and juggling, and then having phone calls with Danielle and with Keith and just leading the team to go.
Right.
And it wasn't burnout. What's burnout is the go, and then all the juggling of the family, and then the juggling of being a husband, and then the juggling of trying to be a son and a brother and all that kind of stuff, right? And it's not necessarily that those things are necessarily bad. It's just that when I started removing myself from the boots on the ground day to day and putting myself in the back end day to day, I found that I was lacking some significant fulfillment in my day-to-day life.
I miss you, Jeremy.
I miss
We
it
used to
too.
have so much therapy during our photography.
This is why we're doing this, Sherri. This is why I started the podcast. To be quite frank with you, so we started the podcast. Last fall, I think it was, and it's been a really therapeutic thing to sit down with other realtors and just kind of reconnect with them. Now, the unfortunate part is that it's just one guest at a time, and I see people, 6 months apart. That's not often.
But you chose the two of us together.
did.
I'm assuming it's because of our podcast.
No, actually.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not. So I chose you guys to be here because of your dynamic. Because I wanted to introduce a wild card into the cha-chunk that we normally see, right? So I've had Matt on here. I've had Ashley Coffey out of Littleton, and we've had some really great performers on this podcast from a data-driven standpoint, and or some really great humans that aren't maybe great, aren't fantastic with real estate, but they're fantastic at being humans, right? So there's the whole gamut, right? We haven't yet had a two competitors at once symbiotic relationship kind of thing that you guys have, and that's a really great dynamic for real estate because it speaks to what real estate, honestly, in my opinion, should be like. More of these kinds of relationships need to exist in order for the office environments, the brokerage environments to really be beneficial for their personnel.
I give a lot of credit to Nick Marr, our realtor board, because of the networking events that are out there. I say this isn't, I haven't been in a while, but
I was going to ask.
I'm overdue.
But you derive some intrinsic value from it?
Absolutely. Especially when I was newer to real estate and I was meeting agents from other brokerages and or other professionals, business partners, things of that nature. It was, I'm trying not to swear.
We can do word replacement. Give Keith.
Hold on, Keith.
Just say freaking instead of the other.
Okay,
so he can just dub that word over.
We'll be doing fudge.
There we go. All right. Anyway.
But I'm trying to think of an event now. I can't. When we would go to our third Thursdays, I think they've got the cornhole tournament coming up tomorrow, right? Yeah. You probably should go to that.
Oh God, here we go back.
Yeah, I know, Miss Competitor, but it's just meeting people on a social level, and when you find yourself, showing their listings or them showing your listings, and you're having conversations later, you've had a face to face, and you talk about that chemistry. You're finding out if this person is someone that you genuinely enjoy. And I think that it just makes it so much easier to know the person on the other side of that transaction should one develop. Again, I'm going to go back to the duty of our clients. It doesn't mean that that there's something behind the scenes going on, but it does open up this peace of mind and trust when it's someone that you've built a relationship with, even those that aren't in your own brokerage.
I think that some of the misconceptions, though, that exist on maybe on a newcomer basis for real estate or on a homeowner basis is that there's such a wide world of real estate. There is for the number of homes or the number of housing. However, the pool of realtors or the real estate professionals that actually, do it full time is actually quite small compared to the totality of the available, not necessarily available listings,
Right.
but the homes that could be listed, right? And so the ratio is not tremendous. And it's not that there's not enough realtors, because there's more than enough. It's just more along the lines of the people who do it full-time versus part-time, or the ones who take it seriously enough to actually achieve it as a full-time breadwinning position long-term versus a slow or a quick burn, because you see people oscillate in and out of the profession,
Yes.
right? And so because we're really working with a small sphere of influence of agents, especially in our area, it's extremely important for you guys to have an understanding of how each other operates, in order for that when you do go into a transaction with those individuals, you know what to maybe be primed for or expect, right?
Well, when you're talking
If I'm talking out,
percentage,
if I'm talking on my butt, just say so.
Fudge. When you're talking percentages, I remember being told that real estate, 20% of the agents are doing the business out there, and they're doing 80% of the
20-80
business.
rule.
So there's your 20-80 rule. And the number one rule is to show up.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's showing up to a networking event and
Sure.
just getting in front of other people. It's showing up to, hand
It's
your
just-
business card out
it's
to,
just to be
those
available.
people in the room.
It's just-
I'm
to be
going to take a
available.
different approach.
Okay.
So
I love
she
arguments.
loves the social event,
Okay.
and
Unsocial.
that's the piece that is no way.
No way.
Are you the butterfly?
I am.
She's the
Always.
organizer, the social planner, everything. She's got spreadsheets.
And-
it's the whole bit.
I
It's
am
like
a
horrible.
spreadsheet
That's disgusting.
person.
It's horrible.
Continue.
So,
And then you come to me. This is me, and I get slack for this because I don't go to a lot of those. But hear me out. What I find exciting, I know it's crazy, is when you go to an event like a workshop or someplace that we're all brainstorming or something like
Yeah.
that, and it doesn't have to be a huge group.
Sure.
You get to know people really well
Yes,
when
you
you're
do.
learning something.
Yes, you do.
When you're put in a position of like, okay, here's the thing, this is what happened. Like you're brainstorming some. They're fake. Help me out here. They're fake.
I don't know where we're going with this.
Like scenario oriented.
Yeah,
kind of
scenarios.
stuff?
They're fake
Okay.
scenarios,
All
and
right.
we're all trying to figure out some things. We're all coming up with some ideas.
All right, so kind of like a role playing scenario in regards
Yes.
to the workshop approach for real estate specifically.
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right.
So I love doing stuff like that.
Okay.
First of all, I get my education in it. Second of all, I get my high because it's like a challenge,
Yeah.
right?
See?
Third of all,
We talked about this.
We did. Third of all, you are actually meeting other people, other agents, and seeing how they work, and it's exhilarating
Yeah.
to see that, because day in and day out, we're by ourselves,
Yes.
lonely, figuring this out, blah blah.
Yep.
But when I'm in that group of that, then we mingle after, we get a snack or you get a lunch break or something like that. That is so powerful to me.
Okay.
I think the takeaway from that is people see how you interact. You get to you have a little bit more conversation. So now when you bring it out to everyone else, you're having much more dialogue, and people are like, "Oh, you are nice." No, I am nice. It's like I am social. I am outgoing. But I think that's the piece that I love about it.
So, correct me if I'm using the wrong words.
Uh-oh.
No, it sounds to me like you enjoy professional vulnerability.
Oh, I like that.
Essentially,
Polished Lana.
So
no, fair enough.
That was
Fair
a
enough,
polished
right?
line from Jeremy.
But
Yeah.
but no, professional vulnerability. Like,
Yeah.
I could share my numbers on camera.
Yeah.
It's just data,
It's
right?
just- yeah.
But if I had another photographer or another company in here and we really started peeling back the layers and started talking about how this problem came to exist, what we did to come over it, now we're really showing the inner workings, like don't peek behind the curtain kind of thing.
Right.
But peeking behind that curtain is so therapeutic because you're like, oh, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. And they get me. And they're not rejecting me. What the hell is this, right? And so you guys have that from when you hit the ground running. And that's the kind of environment that you need to avail yourselves of. And those are two very different environments. You do that socially.
Lana does it socially too, and
You're going to
the
call
whole
BS on what she
time-
just said.
No, I absolutely am. So, because the whole time she's talking, I'm trying to give her her moment to speak.
Okay.
But in my mind,
You're like,
I'm
I want to interrupt. I
"Oh,
want to interrupt.
I gotta get in here and tell you. So, first
You
time.
put up with this?
Yes, all the time.
This is what I do. I just sit back and
Yep.
Yeah, she just sits back. So the very first time that we went to a Coldwell Banker event in Boston. This was, where the heck was it? Like the top of the state building, this
someplace.
huge thing. I'm still a fairly new agent.
Okay.
And what happens is you arrive with your office, and now there's all these different offices
Yeah.
from New
It's a
England
melting
there.
pot.
They're out of Boston, Cambridge, Concord, Newton, Wellesley, whatever, all these huge names, and they're selling multi-million dollar properties.
Sure.
So she knows them because she's been studying
But
them.
to you, they're
She's-
not relatable.
So no, because they're not in my market.
Yeah.
But she's studying them
They're not
because she's
relatable to either one
studying
of
them
us.
because they have achieved success in their careers.
That's relatability right there.
That's
it's not about
huge.
it's not
Right.
about what market they're working in. It's
Right.
how they're doing it. Right.
So-
that's the one level up.
I just want to tell my story.
Sorry.
So,
Sorry.
So
Do you
we
know
get-
better, Jeremy?
I'm a storyteller. So we get to Boston, and the first thing we do is we're sitting down with our Leominster office, and nobody's
Yeah.
talking other than at our immediate table.
Oof.
So she grabs my hand
So awkward.
and she says, "Come with me."
Yeah.
And there's two stories. I mean, there's two levels here. We're going upstairs, downstairs. We're walking around, and every time there was one of those tables huddled together of just people from their office, in she comes. I'm Lana from Leominster, and she's whipping out her business card, and she's like, and this is Sherri.
I was sweating it.
She
Because
was
of
pulling it off.
nerves.
Yeah, because it's hard to break into something. It's people always like, "Oh, introduce yourself, network, and mingle." And if they don't know you, they look at people look at you like, "Yeah, so we don't know your name, right?" But it's a numbers game, right? You got to go through 10 to get one that wants to talk to you.
And it's no different in real estate.
Exactly.
It was great. It was great.
Yeah.
Now the first time that I went to, we have the Coldwell Banker. I don't even know what they call it. At the time, it was the Elite Retreat or Celebration of Success or whatever. And this was the first year that I qualified. She had qualified as well, but Lana was unable to attend. And now I'm spending 3 days with all these people that we interrupted their table
By yourself.
on a social level.
Okay.
having a fun time.
with alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah. But you had paved the way.
So, well, yeah, I had to achieve a certain number of sales and
Well,
No,
to
you
get
paved the
there.
way because you met some of them.
Oh, sorry.
Prior,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
So really what you need to look at that point is that you're just opening future doors or you're unlocking future doors.
And she
by
has.
doing that awkwardness.
And
Yeah.
she has.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you try to look for ways to be memorable. Oh, I have another story. This one's fun. This
Bring it
is
on.
fun. Okay. So this was the first time that I brought my current husband with me to this event. And he was a little bit uncomfortable about meeting a bunch of realtors that, because I don't know, do we seem unapproachable? Do we seem
It's
like
a profession
we're
that not many
stuffy?
people can identify with, I think. And it has a lot of stereotypes associated with it. And I would say that I myself probably had some previous assumptions prior to becoming a real estate photographer.
Oh, so
And
what did you
those-
think?
Well,
Tell the truth.
I didn't know enough about realtors to necessarily have an opinion regarding the housing market, right? Like I didn't have any of that at all. We were renting, and home ownership was so far on the horizon that I had no idea. Like I had no data. All I knew is that I wanted to take photos, and I had nothing to go off of other than my smile, And so I pushed myself. But the early onset was realtors were cheap. Realtors were really cheap. Now, granted, that was almost 12 years ago when a lot of people were still taking their own photos, right? And so that was. Hang on, we'll get there. But yes, I agree, and that's the kind of hurdles that I would have to overcome. Is I think for the most part, I had to overcome my own hurdles of dealing with objection, right? And it's the more doors you knock on, the more times you shake a hand, the higher opportunity exists because it's just a numbers game. And so I didn't understand that early on because I valued me. Why didn't you? Kind of thing, right? That's not how life works. People don't automatically value you because you're a photographer. They value you as a photographer only when you provide value to them. And so what I did is I started basically campaigning for myself and really putting myself out. And this was with Near over in Westford at the time. And I did things like free headshot sessions. I went out to the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce not the job fairs, but like the business fairs, the expos and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I really just put myself out there, and it was working for experience. And obviously, as a realtor, maybe your first one, like you might just cut your commission out completely just because you're desperate for your first listing or whatever, right? But as a photographer, that'll go on for 6 months plus, and you're working, you're working. And finally, when you get discovered as providing value, then the communication shifts, and instead of you putting yourself out there, people are calling you instead.
Right.
And that's when things shift greatly. But even earlier on, like I just started finding myself kind of pigeonholing realtors for what I thought they were versus allowing myself to understand who they were and then judging them based off of their behavior with me over a period of time. Right? Because like that's really the true test of an individual is it's not the first impression, it's the lasting impression, right? And that's what you have to kind of overcome. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to steal your story.
No, that's okay.
But I think
you had a story.
Yeah. So the truth of the matter is, there's a lot of, and I think this exists in any industry.
Right.
If I talk to you about lawyers, you're going to have like your whole flip, or your slideshow is going to play right in your head right away, right? Of all the interactions that you've had with attorneys, and maybe closing attorneys would be the one, but like have you ever been through an actual personal lawsuit? And then all of a sudden, boom, that story starts playing or whatever. And so this is the kind of stuff that people walk into any relationship with. And I think
preconceived notions.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So what happened? Sorry, what happened with Jim?
So Jim, we were at the Breakers and meeting all these people that are realtors for the first time for him. And he thought the best way to break the ice was to tell them when they asked what he did for a living to use careers that came from Seinfeld. So if you ever watch Seinfeld, did you never watch Seinfeld?
No.
Oh my
Who
gosh.
are you?
No, I was a Friends guy.
Keith, have you watched Seinfeld? Yes.
I mean,
right.
I know who the characters in Seinfeld are, but that's pretty much about it.
All right. Well, if you don't,
You missed my Seinfeld reference on the last.
now I've got it.
Yeah.
Now I've got it. Well,
Hey.
he just used all these careers, and now you're not. The story is lost on you, but Keith, someday I'm going to tell you about it. And
Ouch.
and
You can still say the story.
he was trying so hard to get them to believe that he was whatever, an importer exporter, right?
He was saying he had the career.
That's what he said.
Okay.
He was basically George Costanza.
Yep.
And at first people were just like, oh, that's nice. And then he mentioned that he was a marine biologist, which is another episode from Seinfeld.
Okay.
And they started asking questions. They were intrigued. Oh, a marine biologist. So now he's got to play this with conviction, right?
Oh,
and
my
he's like,
word.
oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's just counting fish, and well, here's the thing.
I love it.
Since then, every time he's in front of these people, recently I was with another agent and her boyfriend who. They asked him right away, so are you still a marine biologist? Because now they get it.
They get it. Okay.
But it was memorable.
Yeah.
It was memorable. He came up with something.
Love it.
I mean, if it would be lost on you, but everybody that we encountered later on were, a latex salesman. I don't know, whatever the jobs were.
Yeah.
But it was funny, and it was just something that even recently someone had said to Jim, how's your Seinfeld,
And this was from
going?
years ago.
This was years ago.
That's awesome.
That was how
I
he
love
met
it.
people as a non-realtor.
I love it.
And broke the ice.
That's good. That's good.
So
I
good.
want to share with you. You said something about your company a couple of times, and I want you to know that your company has totally jumped the level
Thank you.
for my business. I know every single photographer that comes out to my listings for some reason must have a checklist. Lana, oh God, Lana's there, so you have to do this. I swear, every
We don't
single
maintain
one.
a checklist, just so we're clear.
Okay. So they are like just as of yesterday, and I was like, they know exactly that I want to walk the place with them.
Yep.
So I walk the whole house with them, and I know they know what they're doing. I do know that, but I have there's specific things that I like, and they know exactly. Nope, she doesn't like this. I go, oh, how do you know all that? Like they know. I know they know their job, but
It's information that lives up here rent free.
Yeah.
Is what it
Yes.
is, to be quite frank with you.
But it's this feeling of just, and if I have a problem with any of the photos or anything I don't like, you guys take care of it like right away.
Automatically, yeah.
And I even said something to you. I think I asked you today. Do you think they could go back and virtually? Oh, maybe it wasn't you. Virtually stage something that was already taken. Like, can I call and say, "Hey, you took that like a week ago. Can you virtually stage 2 of those pictures if I send them to you?"
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I feel like you're such a great part of the company. I probably don't utilize your company as much as I should.
Okay.
And I'm wondering, maybe I need to have a little sit down, look at this, and find out what is probably can up my game, and not up my game to make me look. It's not about me looking better, but how do I get my presentation and out there for the consumer to see?
Yeah.
So you just here I'm always learning education.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh my goodness, everyone is so good when they go to my, the sessions when we had scheduled my appointments, but then it's always after the fact that I can still work with.
Yeah.
That I don't think I take the time for that.
I understand. No, that's good, and I'm glad that you're saying that because it's important for us to hear, and it's easy. It's for us. It's not about the listings that we photograph. It's about who we're working with to photograph the listings. At least, I'd say by and large for us, right? Like I know for Keith and myself at the very minimum, Dylan. Same thing, right? I can't speak for some of our newer hires because I think that they're still learning, right? And that's going to happen, right? But the truth of the matter is, the reason why the business exists isn't because we take photos. Of course, that's the thing that we sell, whatever, right? But it's about who we are with the people that we're working with, and if that relationship fails to grow, fails to flourish, it doesn't matter how good your freaking photos are.
Right.
It just doesn't matter.
Right.
You're going to get replaced, and we have, unfortunately, some clients who don't operate like that. And they're like, oh, no, bottom dollar or the best photos, and that's it, right? They don't care about the personality. You know what? That's fine. That's their value. That doesn't change my value. And so we're looking always for clients who understand that relationship value. And so it's nice to hear you say that because it hits properly, I guess.
It's funny because, when I get someone new that I don't really know really well, like I haven't seen Keith and Dylan for a long time, I always think I'm being punished.
No.
I'm like, wait, no. I say,
Jeremy.
I know, I'm being punished. Like, who are you? Right? And that's personality. So I'll go, who are you? And then, so the next thing you know, they're on my speed dial. I go, are you meeting me there? I'm 5 minutes late. Yep, no problem, Lana. I go, see, they love me already.
We get it. We
did get their cell phone numbers, right?
Oh, yeah. We do get their cell phone numbers.
Hey,
but they're
by the
awesome.
way.
Every single one. I'll show up. I try to come to every single one. I try to be there. I try to learn a little bit about, do you like this eye or not this eye? And I try to, why don't you like that? And they're like, oh, no, this, perfect. So I remember it to the next time.
Sure.
But maybe I need to find out a little bit more what I can do. So I'll have to have a little powwow.
We'll have a sidebar.
Yeah.
Have a sidebar.
I think that you do offer a lot.
They do. The problem is you get complacent, right? Photos.
You get in your
drone,
system.
maybe. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's all you're going to get. It's
I
like,
love my floor plans, and now you're even fancying them up for me. Thank you so
am.
much.
I am.
Appreciate
You're welcome.
that. We got a
We're-
little thing going on.
I'm actually investigating some new software. And the trouble is that, oh man, I could lead you
This is
down.
for my new construction.
I could lead you down a boo-hoo-hoo path, but I have to say that the resources available for photography teams are shit. Like I have to say, we have gone through so many iterations of different trial and error softwares, whether it be, so I don't know if you guys caught it, but about a year and a half ago, we had swapped from our Jobber backend, which is our appointment setting software, to a backend called Aryeo. And Aryeo, Aryeo, it got bought out by Zillow this year. And I think what they were doing at the time is that they were kind of fluffing the numbers so that Zillow could get a good purchase. But long and short of it is, we bought into this fanfare kind of software that it looked great on the surface, but then we actually started employing it. We're like, wait, it doesn't do this thing that's really basic. What the hell, kind of thing. And I'm not even joking. I was on some very, very frustrating phone calls with the owner of the company at the time prior to the Zillow buyout. And I was just racking his brain. I'm like, how can we solve this together? I was trying to become a resource for him so that we could maybe add value to his software. And he was just he took the easiest 10% of my list and implemented it. You know,
Ah,
and so,
nice.
but we're regularly as a photography company running into those same challenges where the support systems for real estate photographers, they just suck. They just suck. And so we're actually taking it upon ourselves to investigate doing them ourselves, like creating our own support systems that are independent of what's available on the market, and then maybe one day turning it
Copyright
around.
it.
Exactly. Right. And so that's kind of where we're heading. So the point to all that is we're constantly looking at ways that we can shake up our own tree and create our own tools to use that are proprietary to our agency.
Well,
So,
you have to. You can't become complacent in your business. You need to
No.
keep growing, looking ahead,
Yep.
looking for ways to improve. Absolutely. And I think I mentioned systems in place which make it easy to run the day-to-day operation, but you still have to be looking to make that move upward
Yep.
to improve yourself. Times are changing. We've got a lot of changes in our industry coming.
Yeah.
Earlier, you talked about agents that were using our cameras and phones
Yeah.
to take photos. Now, that was when I got into the business. I remember investing in a better camera, but I wasn't ready to drop the thousands of dollars
Sure.
yet on equipment.
Sure.
But I thought, I needed to have something better than what I was using before.
yeah.
And
certain offices bought their office camera, right? Like
Right,
they had like
right.
their go-to that people borrowed within
right,
the
you
agency.
took it and off you went and you did stuff. And I actually started with a different photographer. It was somebody that wasn't local, and somebody mentioned your name, but there weren't many people that
No.
were doing
No, there weren't.
professional photos.
There weren't.
And I mean, it was an expense because at this point you haven't sold anything.
It was speculative.
And it was also a buyer's market.
Yeah.
And there's a chance that you're
And
going
I didn't
to
even know that
invest.
at the time.
Right.
I didn't even know that at the time because
Right.
I didn't know what the difference between a buyer's and a seller's market
Right.
was. I
Yeah.
hadn't seen an oscillation.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So no, I was just thinking, we as real estate agents, we're investing in your services
Yeah.
and your product to make our listings stand out
Yeah.
in a market that maybe we were possibly not going to get a return on our
Right.
investment.
Right.
But what we were doing was looking ahead to build on our image.
Yep.
So I had you, this is before virtual photography. It was, I think, like a 600 square foot, 2-room condo that was vacant that I had you come in and take professional photos of that I probably didn't need, but I thought, I have to make sure I'm consistent. So if I'm going to be using a professional photographer, I'm using it on this type of listing as well as the high end.
Sure.
And that was where it changed for me, was doing something like that.
You had your aha moment,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
you had your moment where you're like, no, I'm not going to treat this transactionally.
Right.
I'm going to treat this as a relationship, and not necessarily with us, but with your relationship to the photography, right? And because that became the lifeblood of your brand,
Right.
right? And it was all that trickle down. And then the truth of the matter is, a lot of this stuff is truly speculative because, like, you don't know, quote unquote, what the long term outcome or impression for the home sellers are going to be. Like,
Right.
they might look at your portfolio and see one like oddball where it got photographed by either a different company or a cell phone, and they might be like, oh, what happened there, and then just move on. Or they could be like, nope, stop the presses, we're not hiring this person because how are they going to treat us, right? Like,
Right.
you never know how that's going to quite pan out. But that's why some of our agents, they'll have like a good, better, best kind of scenario where based on the commission that you agree to, we'll do this. If you
Right.
want to lower commission, then we lower what we do for marketing.
Right.
And so they do that whole gradated, graduated marketing plan and stuff like that.
And the other thing too, in my business layout, is I always talk about the team that I have.
Yeah.
So it's not just the attorney, the lender. I actually say to my clients, my photographer, right? So it's not. It's never. I'm like, no. I have
But
to
he's
contact.
my photographer.
I have to contact my photographer to see if my photographer is available.
Yeah.
No, he has run a business, and we have to find a slot.
Yep.
So the sooner you get this, the
Yep.
sooner. And then when they meet the photographer, it's like you set the stage for that level
Yep.
because I'm in this level and now this
Yep.
level. And so everybody's on the same
Right.
page.
Yeah.
You're not like, oh, this is just my photographer showing up.
Right.
No, it's not
Yeah.
like
It's
that.
not trans-
It's like
it's not
my
transient.
photographer. Like you're getting me and my
Sure.
photographer.
Sure.
Right. Plus, you don't want somebody who's selling a home that's $300,000 to think that they're going to be getting something less
Oh no.
than, I mean, obviously it's going to cost more with a bigger home. There's
Yep.
more rooms to photograph, but
Yep.
I think that the services need to be consistent, along every price point.
Yeah, because you're setting that bar, and you're like, no, this is my standard. Anything
Right.
below that is to me unacceptable personally,
Right.
But you're making that conscious decision to do that.
Right.
Right.
I think when I'm adding drones or floor plans, that might be different depending on the
It's
property.
situational. Yep.
Right.
And I fully agree that it is situational. Only, I say only, 50% of our listings this year include floor plans. So that's a really large stat.
Wow.
38% include drone. Check that out.
Yeah.
Floor plans are considered more important to realtors than drone.
I love floor plans.
So-
I love them myself.
Well, I tell
So-
you, people, for you, because of new construction, it's really important. I mean, sometimes you have plans, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but they're not. So
No, right, they're not.
You know the
Yes.
dirty secret. Okay.
Yes. So, but the other piece is, people will say to me, do you have the floor plans for this house?
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm not doing enough floor plans where I thought it was important during the pandemic time because,
Sure.
people they got 2 seconds to go through
Yep.
and they couldn't remember it.
Yep.
So now I thought, well, why do I need floor plans? But now maybe it's much more important to have floor plans.
It's information.
Yeah.
And information's power. Let's just face
course.
it, right? And so, especially as we are coming out of a seller's market, I mean, it's still slanted towards the sellers, thankfully, but we don't know how long, right? The truth of the matter is, as the buyer pool is starting to dry up, we will eventually get into a situation where there's going to be more time for people to make decisions. And they're probably going to make decisions based off of the house that really provides the most in-your-face set of values. And floor plans could, in fact, be part of that dynamic. I think that there's purpose for all of our products that we have, and they are in fact situational. I would agree. Like,
Yeah.
there's no sense in flying a drone. Well, I mean, there's a lot of situations where drone is completely useless. Like if you have a really wooded
Tight.
property, don't fly it.
No.
Because then you just have a sea of trees. Yay, whatever, right? Like, so if you're in like the Leominster State Forest area or whatever, right?
Some people
You know?
like to see that they're
So again, situational,
Oh.
right? Who's your buyer, right?
Exactly.
So do you really want to market how secluded it is? Great, do drone. Can we even get a good shot of your house? Don't do drone. Because
Yeah.
like at that point you're just staring at a sea of trees. Where's the house, right?
If it's
So-
just snowed and all you're going to see is a sea of white,
Yeah, exactly,
that
right?
might be the wrong
Right.
time.
But amenity properties definitely want to do drone as far as like whether it be a neighborhood amenity or a backyard pool or whatever it might be, or even honestly, there's times where we'll get to a property and they're not requesting drone, and we're looking around, we're like, you need it. So what we'll do is we'll just pop it up. No charge to the client. We just take a couple of shots with the drone just so that they have the value, because at that point it's like so
yeah.
inarguably present that it would be a disservice on our end to not just do it. You know what I mean?
Are all
So,
your photographers now trained on drones?
our two newest hires who aren't in our area here, they're on the seacoast, are not currently trained on drone, but that as soon as the spring market wraps up, that's going to be our number one thing for them to have done. And then after that, we'll get them video trained as well. The format, just because you're asking, the format of our training is photography right from day one, period. Like that's a non-negotiable. But while they're doing photography training, we're also training them on floor plans too, because that is that's a either you get it or you don't kind of skill set. We've had people that have come into our agency that didn't stick around to learn floor plans because it frustrated them so much. So there's just kind of those challenges that happen. But it's photos, floor plans, Matterport tours, which honestly really only account for about 5% of our listings, which is a really low stat, which is odd.
I'm not a fan of them. I
Yeah.
find them confusing.
Yep, so that's the common feedback that we get, and so there's that, which is I think it might be a technology that just isn't embraced by our local market because, quite frankly, the technology itself is widely successful on the West Coast.
Oh.
It's like more like 75% of listings
Wow.
include a Matterport.
But don't you
So
feel
it's
like the
very bizarre.
videos can
I like
offer
the
that?
videos.
If
So
you're
that's
going
what we're
room to
finding,
room
and so conversely, so you have like 4 or 5% adoption on the Matterport, and you have 26% adoption on the videos. That's a significant change right there, right? And I think that one of the things that's keeping the video adoption as low as it is, because I think that's actually artificially low, is the price point of the video. But the thing about it is, to develop a good walkthrough video, it takes a lot of time on our editing end, because we don't outsource it overseas, because we want to really control the quality of what we're developing, which means that we have to have somebody here that you can reach out and grab, and so that's what we have, and no, Keith does not do the video editing for that. No, he does the podcast and stuff like that, but Sean,
he's busy enough.
Yeah, he's busy enough.
Oh, that's right, Sean.
Yeah, so Sean, our video editor, does a killer job at video editing, and so what we have done lately is we've done some outsourcing for the rough cut, so that we have an outsourced provider do the rough video edit, give Sean the semi-finished product, and then he goes through with the fine-tooth comb and he kind of just adjusts some things. So instead of him taking about 2.5 to 3 hours on a video, he really only puts about 45 minutes into it, which is a significant time change, right? Which this year is great, because on Monday we had 9 videos that we had to do, and he can really only cap out around like maybe 5 videos a day is what he's capable of pushing personally. So we have to really have that kind of overflow. But as you guys know, with the spring market being such an ebb and flow as it is, you have 3 months of make hay while that sun shines. And then after that, you're like, okay, where's the business, right? And so we have to have some sort of accordion format where we can outsource some stuff and get it back in reasonable time and stuff. So it's a dynamic that's really challenging. And so that plays into the price point of the video. Drone has become kind of a no-brainer for a lot of people, but again, situational. And then floor plans have just kind of become so standard, so 50%. So it's
interesting.
It's I could talk numbers all day.
No, that's all right. I wish we had more than 42, image space in MLS.
Yeah,
because
it's a love-hate.
I don't.
Yeah, that's why it's a love-hate.
Depends on the property. Depends on the property.
Right. It is, again, situational, right? And so it really depends on what you're aiming to achieve. I personally, if I had it my way, we would have 20 photos on MLS. And we would provide a portfolio of 40 to the agent. And we would reduce the number of photos that we take on site. We would keep only the best of the best, send it to the agent, and they would make the decisions from there. Not that we make the decisions right now, but we're giving them everything. And I can't tell you how many times, like, the guys come back from the field on a beautiful listing, like a 4,000 square foot listing with drone, and maybe there's a pool or whatever. There's like 30 exterior photos, and they're going to use 5, right? And so it's one of those things where we're seeing all of this editing waste happen. Like, we pay per photo to get them edited. And we're not having the client choose the photos that we took before the editing, but because we can't, because it's going to slow down the process. And so we just edit them all and then let the client decide after. Our editing bill per year as a company is nearly $200,000.
Wow. But you're making the mistake of thinking that the photos are only being used in MLS.
I'm not making the mistake of it. I know that the majority of agents are only using them in MLS.
That's a fact. Yeah, that's a fact.
So
you guys aren't the majority of agents, right? Exactly. That's exactly it, right? Because you guys will take the same photos that don't make the MLS listing and use them as background images on brochures, or use them as marketing on social media or whatever, right? You'll find
on our
different purposes.
Websites.
Exactly.
I have to say, what I like better is the least amount. When I got 75 and I can only put, I'd be like, boof. You're like, okay, I don't need no. And I'll say to the photographer, do not take a photo down here. I mean, don't waste a photo down there.
Do you have decision fatigue? Do you suffer from decision fatigue?
Do I have a disorder?
No.
What is it? What is it?
Decision fatigue is when you're bombarded with having to make decisions all day, where you're just like, make it for me, please, kind of thing.
I mean, sometimes, but not. Sometimes.
Okay, just curious, because like for me, like if somebody gives me too many options, I'm like, can you personally narrow it down before giving me the options so that I have like 3 to choose from?
I would have to say I would, because like at the end of the day, I'll be like, are we going out to dinner? Okay, where? I do not want to make the decision of where we're going to dinner.
You have decision fatigue,
right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
I guess I am, but if I feel like, if the professional photographer is giving me professional photos, they're not going to give me junk. So I want to take all of them,
Keith?
and I want to put them in. I want to.
Can we script this?
I'm not going to get junk. No, seriously, think about this.
All the agents that are listening.
I want to take all of them and just put them in MLS, and I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't want, and they're all in order because they go through the house.
Yep.
I don't want. I got to pick and choose.
If you're listening and you disagree with what Lana is saying, please come on our episode next and give me an opposing point of view. No, like I love what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't have a strong opinion for or against it because I know what the other side of that door looks like. And it's you guys didn't get this shot. I need you back at the property. Oh my God. Talk about an interruption to our day and the realtor's day and the client's day, right? And so it's easier for us to just take a couple more photos and cover everything, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that dumpster fire doesn't exist anymore, right?
Yeah.
But the converse side of that is that we then deliver too many photos to clients who don't want a lot of photos, and then they get inundated with having to make decisions that they didn't really feel like having to make. Does that make sense?
I am the only one that can look
No.
at the photos. And
Oh.
I am the
Oh.
only one that makes the decision.
Yeah.
There's
okay.
not an extra
See.
little loop.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. Except when I do show the listing and they say, is there another front picture? We think
Boom.
our house is leaning.
Boom.
But it's one.
Yep.
It's one.
Yeah.
It's not like
But you do a great job with your photos. I remember you telling me about the 3-wall rule.
Yeah.
And you know
Yeah.
the 3-wall rule? So sometimes if you see a picture where there's only 2 walls, it distorts the size of the room. It's going to look as though the room is larger.
As a viewer, you have no idea where the room ends.
when there's 3.
So if you're looking in a room, right, from one end, you're definitely not going to see the one behind you, period.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
But you should see the left, the right, and the back.
Yeah.
No matter where in the room you are,
Right.
you should always see 3 walls, unless, and the exception is, it's a detail shot. Now, obviously, if you're zooming in on a
Yes,
specific item
of
or whatever,
course, right.
you ignore that rule. But we found that one of the hardest things to do is take somebody who has worked at another agency, onboard them to us, and convince them that that 3rd wall is necessary. Because there's a lot of photography agencies out there who just go 2 walls. And so what ends up happening is the room is kind of left hanging off of one side, where you're like, is there a door, a window? Is there a hallway? What's going on this other
Right.
side, right? And so there's that big question that exists, but you don't consciously ask yourself that, but your body is subconsciously wondering, where's the room end?
And then you
Right.
show up at an open house and you decide to tell the agent, well, this doesn't look anything like the photos
Correct.
because I was expecting this.
A bigger or
and I
smaller
ended
or
up
whatever.
with this. And that was something I thought that had value.
Yep.
And I know that you and Keith have helped me move furniture. I think I've made
We're not gonna
beds.
say that.
I have. Well, sometimes it's the little thing.
Is the
It's the little
strongest
thing.
man in the world.
Yes, and very
I'm telling you.
respectful. And very respectful too. You know, removing your shoes before going in the
Always.
home, always being courteous, and just. I feel like we're calling you part of our team.
Yeah.
And you're making us look good.
Yeah.
But we've made beds, we've cleaned countertops, we've moved trash cans, we've fluffed up pillows, and sometimes we're doing that in a house that's already been, prepared.
Yeah.
And other times you walk in and they just need a little extra help.
Sure.
And that's where I'm grateful, because I know that there's a schedule that you're trying to keep, and there we are trying to
Hustle it
make
through.
sure that this image is going to
Yep.
entice the buyer.
Don't you love when Keith's there and he'll go, we can move this. I'm like, oh no, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, we have to move that. I'm like, huh? Okay,
Yep.
we're moving
Yep.
it. We're moving this.
You didn't know that you didn't need to go to the gym anymore. Right? You just had to list more houses.
I was like,
we do our best to not settle for mediocre, right? Like
No,
if we,
right.
If we see something that it's just screaming at us, you got to take care of it.
Yeah.
Because then otherwise you're just having intellectual dishonesty, where you're just fooling yourself into being just good enough, right?
and I don't want to fail. Like, I want to get there before you guys show up, like at least 15 minutes, and I want to show them that I prepped it, right?
Yeah.
And
And
I
then
wanna be
Dylan shows up an hour early.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm here." I'm like, "What?" And then,
Dylan, slow down.
and then like others show up right on time, which
Yep.
is fine.
Yep.
And then you think you got everything going, and then they go over and they start
Yep.
fixing it. I'm like,
Yep.
I know you have a busy day.
Yep.
I'm trying to make sure everything's all
Yep.
set, and they're like, "We got this, Lana."
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, with my new construction, I have pretty much an hour. I have one opportunity, and that is on closing day, because the house has
That's
been
so
completed.
narrow. It's so narrow.
And this is before, because it might be 8 or 9 a.m.
Yeah.
and it could be the buyers are sitting at the closing table
Yep.
and you're in getting those photos.
Yep.
So it's the one shot. And a lot of times I'm not there. It's an empty house, you know, and,
Right.
and
But
you guys know
It's supposed to have been professionally cleaned, finished, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But how many times have we walked into?
Yeah, sometimes,
You know?
well, the cleaner comes in, but then the painter does the touch up, and
Yep.
then you might have a little bit of that dust.
Yep.
And yeah, we've done a little bit of cleanup there too. But I appreciate that if I'm not there, you guys are getting it done. You know exactly
We're
what
your
I
eyes and
want.
ears. Yep.
You know,
Yep.
and it's a different visual because you're selling new construction. Because this is already a sold house.
Yep.
I'm just using the images to help other people, you know,
Buy future homes.
buy future homes.
Yep. I can't tell you the amount of times when I was in the field, how many times I would text agents who I knew wouldn't be there. That's fine. I would text them kind of like a situational report, to be honest with you. Like, hey, I arrived, the front door was actually already open, and nobody was there. And either the agent did it, which is fine. I get that back from them, or like, oh shoot, that should have been shut, or whatever. Or how many times I've walked up to a lockbox and it's literally already on the numbers that the code
we
is.
see that a
because
lot.
nobody scrambled it, you know. And so I always just ping the agent, just FYI, this is, you know, that kind of thing. Or if there's something significant out of place or not as expected and they're not present, I always text them that, you know, so that way they're aware of kind of more in a informational exchange way what happened at the property when they weren't there and what we took care of, so that they knew A, that we went to bat for them, and B, if something's still amiss in the end, I did my best, you know, that kind of thing. So it's equal parts covering your butt as well as humble brag of sorts, right? But it's, I think, important for the agent to understand that we are in fact operating in their best interest at all times, right? And I think that really is an integral part of that relationship building, you know. And so anyway,
I like it.
but yeah.
I like it.
I really enjoyed sitting down with you guys and hashing this out. And you guys have always been really pleasant and just fantastic to work with. I was very intimidated by you the first time I worked with you. Very intimidated. Intimidated. Just simply because of how much of a go-getter and a digger you are, right? And you don't let grass grow under your feet, and neither do I. I'm not that kind of person either.
You're not.
Right? But the truth of the matter is, when you see someone else embody that, it's scary. Even if you're like that yourself, you're like, can I match this person's output and energy? And I very quickly proved that I could. It's just one of those, like, you question yourself for that kind of couple minutes maybe or whatever, and then you convince your own body that you're fine, right? But yeah, you intimidated me. I will be honest.
You're not the only. You know who else has said that to me? A home inspector had said that to me. He's like, oh, you know, and I said, what? I'm like, you are kind of on the same pattern as that we're kind of like the same energy and the same level and stuff. And, and that, I guess that's what it can be. But intimidation, I don't know.
I think it's just it's getting past that initial facade and seeing who you are. And when that comes out, it's very easy.
Did I show up and say, hey, well, come on, you know, I only have 5 minutes. Let's get
you know what?
I'm not sure. It might have been a hustle, like how much time do I actually have on this site kind of thing. But I'm very confident with the speed that I go at, so I'm not worried about that too much. But it's more along the lines of like the preconceived notions that we talked about earlier, right? You know, and the energy that you put forth is one of like, holy crap, this woman is like on fire, right? And so you just don't know if you're gonna match the energy, right? So you start like, it's almost like dating. I have to be honest. Business establishment, as far as like creating relationships in business, it's just so much like dating. You know, so and you have to get right out the gate with just the right level of you. But maybe not too much of you or too little of you. It's like that little game we play, right? Anyway, that's all.
No, so she scared you. I didn't scare you.
No.
You were the the huggy, like big teddy bear that everyone loves and just wants
it's
to be
because
around.
that social element that we talked about just a little bit ago, you know? And so I think for Lana's part, I didn't know that she was capable of being professionally vulnerable until I started really engaging in conversation with you, in which case I'm like, oh, so she's not like a bear. Okay, good.
She's
not. You know, and so with you,
a teddy bear too.
So
I'll take it.
With you, with you, when I first started working with you, I was like, wow, she's really friendly and
Did I say
welcoming
that?
and just kind of
Yeah,
just chill.
so approachable.
And, you know, but even, and you said it earlier, even when something goes wrong, you still seem to find the silver lining of it. And I think that kind of, it disables or it automatically takes the air out of the sails of the negativity, right? Does that make sense?
Thank you.
She does. She does this. You start saying something, and her mind is already go, okay, well, then let's do this.
Yeah.
Like she immediately.
Yeah, you're ready to pivot. Boom, done.
That's a blessing and a curse, because sometimes people just want to vent.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
know.
Like
I know.
don't problem solve.
Yep.
Just let me say it. You've done that to
Yeah,
me.
I've
you
done
know?
that to you.
Yep. Do you preface it with that?
Yes.
Do either of
Yeah.
you preface it
Oh,
with
yeah.
that?
Well, because we
I
know
That's
each
the
other.
important part.
Yeah, but that takes being that comfortable with someone.
Yes. Yes. Don't try to solve what I'm about to say, but I need someone to listen.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so it was a pleasure.
Thank
So
you.
thank you
great.
for being in here. I appreciate it very
Thank
much.
you.
And I'm looking forward to see what the rest of 24 looks like.
Yeah.
Me
yeah,
too.
Me too.
Let's keep it moving.
Yeah.
Keep it going.